it would be a fun challenge to design the Eeveelutions as the emotions from inside out. Of course, these will just be my interpretations of which evolution I feel best fit, which emotion I pair them with from the movie. So if you have your own picks, please let me know in the comments below, and while you're down there, make sure you subscribe. Starting off with the basics, the bare minimum, the root of it all, I chose Eevee as the base for Riley, and the other evolutions will just be her emotions. Anytime I see Eevee with their evolutions, I see them having big sibling energy and wanting what's best for their little sibling Eevee. But they do have a tendency to overstep and push Eevee into one direction or the next, like in the anime with those Eevee brothers pressuring their little brother into evolving Eevee into either a Flareon, Jolteon, or Vaporeon. I liked how that episode ended with the brothers respecting Eevee as it is, and just letting him do his own thing, but while also offering support when needed. This also goes hand in hand with most people loving Eevee for its evolution gimmick, and just picking one up to round out their team for a missing type. I just love how Eevee has become this co-mascot alongside Pikachu, because now it gets to show off just how strong it can be unevolved too. Eevee Riley was a lot of fun to design, definitely also using this as a study for drawing anthro characters because it's always the hair and ear placement that just throws me off. Because you got the head of an animal, but everything from the neck down is human, I just have to trick my brain sometimes into thinking that it's okay, don't overcomplicate it. I also gave her braces colors that match the evolutions, just as a cute little nod to them. And since its Pokédex entries are all about how unstable its DNA is, well, what's more unstable than emotions, right? So to get the obvious ones out of the way, yes, I made Flareon anger because, well, just look at it. Nah, it's fire and anger has fire too, so it just works. Not all of them have to be thinkers. Flareon's Pokédex talks about how it has a flame sac in its body that allows it to emit heat that is nearly 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Its fluffy fur also releases flames in the air in order to avoid overheating. I wanted to keep Anger's blocky body because I thought it was a cool and unique shape. And I gave him a unibrow because the lining of his head makes it look like one. Also, side note, unibrows, underrated facial feature. Some of my favorite characters in media have unibrows and I can't imagine them without it. So I gave Flareon Anger a unibrow. Plus they're kind of hot. Anyway, Vaporeon is sadness because, well, blue and water and its whole body is practically liquid. And yeah, no, that's basically all I have. I mean, just like Flareon, this one is a one-to-one on the nose and really obvious as to why I paired it with the emotion from the movie. Now, personally, I liked Sadness from Inside Out. I loved how it showcased the importance of feeling sad and how that's not always a bad thing. Without sadness, we'd have no joy. We truly can't appreciate sunny days without a few cloudy ones. But I like cloudy days anyway, so I'm biased. The mermaid tail was definitely the hardest to get down. It felt forever shaping those flippin' fins. Also, if Vaporeon knew of its reputation around certain Pokemon communities, yeah, I think it would be pretty sad too. Okay, her main color is yellow, and I just mentioned how there's no joy without sadness, so obviously I'm gonna make Jolteon anxiety! Wait, hear me out though. According to Jolteon's Pokédex entries, its body can produce electricity and makes its fur stand on ends like needles. Kinda like how anxiety can give you goosebumps. And in the movie, when Riley was having an anxiety attack, she was moving around so fast that it caused a mini storm around the console with bits of electricity sparking about. So despite not having the same color scheme, but yellow being closest to orange on the color wheel, I say it works, especially with how extra spiky I made her. Oh, she's so cute, like a little fuzzball that wants me to do my best, but have a tendency to overpush your boundaries. This one is purely based on vibes because while we didn't see much of Ennui in the movie, she seemed really chill, giving off that vibe of too cool to approach, but is actually a nice person. And since Umbreon is known for hanging out in the darkness, I thought it was a good fit for Ennui. But admittedly, I did have a hard time deciding between Umbreon and Espeon of who should be Ennui or Fear. On one hand, they both give off that aloof, cool vibe that Ennui has, but Umbreon is the embodiment of darkness, so it could also be Fear on that alone. Plus, its yellow stripes could work as a little flashlight. But then again, Dark type is the evil type in Japan, so that wouldn't have worked either way. To mimic Ennui's phone, I drew Umbreon holding a Rotom phone. It's the little things of world building I appreciate most from the Pokemon world. Basing this one purely on the fact that Espeon's Pokédex mentions how it's a better fighter during the day than it is at night. Night and darkness are common fears, ergo, she is fear. Like I mentioned, I was actually struggling between Espeon and Umbreon on whether to give them either fear or ennui, and kept flipping back and forth between the two. But ultimately, I'm still kind of not satisfied with the emotions I paired them with, because I feel like they can be used interchangeably between the two. I don't know, because I almost considered giving Espeon anxiety because its telepathic abilities and capability of predicting the weather. But in the end, as you can see, she has a cool purple coloring similar to fear, and that's good enough for now. This one was tough, so let me know in the comments which emotions you would have given Umbreon and Espeon. Okay, so I wrote all of that before actually drawing out Umbreon and Espeon. Fuck everything I just said, because it wasn't until I actually started drawing them that I realized how good they look as the emotions I assigned them as. Espeon is the most feline-like evolution, so she's essentially a scaredy cat. I just love the pose I chose for him. So timid and wrapping his tail around him just for comfort. Aw, it's so cute. Okay, similar color palettes aside, Glaceon's Pokédex entries are perfect for my reasoning as to why I picked her to be Eevee. To protect itself, it freezes its fur to make it stand like needles. Similar to what Jolteon does with the electricity to make her hair stand up like needles. Hello? Glaceon also regulates its body heat to freeze the air around her, just like how Flareon can use its flame sac to increase the temperature of its atmosphere. Oh my gosh, it's so perfect that it literally writes itself. Using her fellow Eeveelutions techniques. Oh, how envious of you, Glaceon. I think this one was both my favorite, but also hardest to draw because despite being so gosh darn cute, boy was working with Glaceon's headpiece especially with her side tails, with the barrettes and her hair. It wasn't easy, but somehow I pulled it off. Go me! Back at it again on my color BS. Yeah, Leafeon is Disgust, but I also think it fits because as a plant, it makes clean air. The Galarians even make perfume out of its leaves, according to its sword Pokédex. Plus, Leafeon's tail can be sharp enough to slice through solid tree, despite how flimsy it looks as a regular leaf. Talk about don't judge a book by its cover. It's ready for any social confrontation. Oh my gosh, just loving how she came out, the attitude, the sass, yas queen is serving. I'm glad Leafeon's base light yellow goes well with Disgust's color scheme. Not gonna lie, I was kind of afraid it would kind of clash, but you know what? Green and yellow, complementary, goes well together. Oh, and I almost forgot to add the detailing in her dress. Like, I know Joy has those blue sparks on her dress because it pairs so well with the theming, but Disgust just has those little logs on her dress, and it just, I don't know, it's a little harder to see. As for the final evolution, I decided what better emotion could there be for a Pokemon like Sylveon, who introduced a new evolutionary method of affection along with the fairy type, than joy. If love was an emotion from inside out, she would fit perfectly, but I think Sylveon best embodies joy because, according to her Pokédex entries, she uses her ribbon-like feelers to calm fights and keeps them wrapped around the arm of her beloved trainer as they walk together. Sylveon can also use her feelers to send out a soothing aura to its opponents, eliminating their hostility. Sylveon can literally bring joy to its enemies, its trainers, and it's an elegant dancer that can pierce right through your weak points. Top tier for Joy if you ask me. Her basic white, pink, and blue color scheme goes really well with Joy's outfit. In lieu of eyebrows, I figured she could just emote with the upper pink lining of her head. Kinda like Sonic characters with the lining of their eyelids. That way she always looks so cheerful. And that's my interpretation of the evolutions as the emotions from inside out. The Eevee motions, if you will. This was a great challenge for me in terms of posing, big expressions, and making sure each emotion had their own unique body type. I think I did the best I could, and for the most part, I'm largely satisfied with how they all turned out. My favorites are Eevee Riley, Flareon Anger, Jolteon Anxiety, Espeon Fear, and Glaceon Envy. Be sure to let me know your favorites below. My only regret in this was not being able to use embarrassment because I didn't feel any of the evolutions fit him. I was considering Espeon or Sylveon, but they were much better fits for the emotions I assigned. If I had a different approach to it, Eevee would have definitely been joy and Sylveon as embarrassment. But now I'm curious to hear it from you guys. Which emotions would you have paired with the evolutions and why? Be sure to let me know below and make sure to subscribe for more Poké art content. We're almost at 100. That's so close to the amount of new Pokemon introduced in Gen 4. Thank you all so much for being a part of this journey. I'm so excited to see where it goes, and I hope you stick around for more. So subscribe and have a dazzling day, my darlings.